I'm applying for like 100 jobs per day, 200 jobs per day. That is not the best strategy. From a company perspective, it's much more affordable to keep an employee than to hire a new employee. If you're just sporadically applying for any and every job, it's giving jack of all trades, master of none. And you don't want that to be you. You want to be known for something special. And I can say that this principle works because that's how I got my job within Microsoft. Working hard at the wrong things won't give you the right result. You can create content to create conversation, like literally what I'm doing right now. Welcome to the Tech Unlock podcast, where we demystify emerging technologies and give you the keys to unlock your successful tech career. I'm your host, Grace McJones. Let's unlock the future together. Hello and welcome to the Tech Unlock podcast. I'm your host, Grace McJones. I'm going to say this because no one else wants to say it. You're not special. Just because you studied computer science, interned at a FANG company, worked at Google, Meta, Apple, Uber, whatever it is, you're not special. I am not special. And that's the humbling, brutal truth that this current tech job climate has taught me. So if you want to work in tech in 2025, here are 3 brutally honest truths that you need to understand that a lot of people are not talking about. Just to know how crazy this job market is, here's the competition. If you're trying to break into tech right now or get a job in tech, this is what you're competing against. Group 1, you're competing against internal employees who are trying to make sure that they don't get laid off. So you're switching roles, doing informationals internally to secure a more prominent or needed job. And from a company perspective, it's much more affordable to keep an employee than to hire a new employee. The second group you're up against is the thousands and thousands of talented tech workers who have been laid off since 2022. Some are still looking for a job in 2025. Those group of people are highly experienced, probably have multiple degrees, have amazing experiences at other tech companies, and they're willing to get a pay cut just so that they can pay their rent, pay their bills, take care of their families, and do whatever it takes to work in this job climate. The third group of people that you're up against are highly ambitious college students who have worked their butt off in the last 4 years and hoping that that pays off by landing a tech job. And they probably have a business or a strong personal brand online because Gen Z, all they know is social media and branding and documenting their story. So they have an advantage. Another group that you're up against is people overseas. They're willing to take a huge pay cut just to work in this economy, and companies know that, and that's why they're pushing a lot of roles overseas. The list goes on and on and on. And let's not forget our favorite buddy, AI. Yeah, it's coming for you. It's cutthroat season. It doesn't care. It's a machine. It's not personal. It's business. Now that you understand who you're competing every single time you apply for a new job, you need to rethink your strategy in 2025 and beyond. Tech is not the same landscape that we saw in 2020. And this is why I'm creating this episode to share 3 brutal, honest truths about how to gain a job in 2025 in a tech industry. So truth number 1, building and maintaining relationships will take you further in your life and in your career than any technical skills. I'm going to say that again. Building and maintaining healthy relationships with other people will take you further in your career than any technical skills you would build and learn. Does this mean technical skills or hard skills are not needed? Absolutely not. They're important. They get you in the door. And a lot of people now realize, okay, if I'm applying for that software engineering job and 5,000 people are applying for that same job, what is going to help my chances be more than theirs? Like, what's going to help increase my chances? And people say this all the time. It's not what you know, but who you know. And this climate is not just about who you know. It's about who knows what you know. Because a lot of you feel like, oh, I'm a great, developer. I'm a great designer. I'm a great fill in the blank. But if people don't know that about you, you're not getting a job. It's going to be hard for you to find a job or hard for you to find referrals. And I know people talk about referrals. I'm not against referrals, but I've referred people and they haven't gotten a job within my company. So for me, personally speaking, I think referrals are out in 2025 and warm intros are in. I'm not saying that referrals are useless. If you get a referral, please use it. And I still refer people. But I believe warm intros, being able to introduce someone to the hiring manager or the recruiter goes a long way than just referring someone through the portal in your company. Because I've seen it. Sometimes those referral platforms are just a black hole. I'm just gonna be honest. It's a black hole, and sometimes you never hear. Sometimes you do hear back from companies or recruiters. The most effective thing that I've seen is someone setting you up to have a one-on-one conversation with the person that's actually hiring. So, like I said, referrals are great. There's nothing wrong with referrals, but it's more important to get that warm intro from whoever it is so that you're talking directly to the hiring manager or the recruiter. Now, how do you get that warm intro? If you don't have a big network and if you don't have a lot of experience, how do you get someone to trust you enough to want to introduce you to a hiring manager or a recruiter? Truth number one is that you have to get within community. Community is the best way to build relationships. And a lot of people do this late, right? They wait till they get laid off or they wait till they graduate college and they're like, okay, like, how do I build my network? Like, who do I talk to? You don't want to do that. You want to build your community before you need it. So if you're watching this right now and you're thinking to yourself, oh, wait, I don't think I'm part of any community. How do I get started? The number one thing you have to realize, like, okay, what do I want to give? Because a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to go into communities and just ask people to connect me or, let them, ask them to pick their brains. Nobody wants any of that. People can spot from a mile away when there's just someone who wants to use them for their connection or their experience. And you don't want that to be you. You don't want to be known for someone who's a user. Community is not about using people to get what you want. It's about learning from each other, giving to each other so you can grow and thrive together. Being part of a community can help with the job search process because number one, you can learn from people who are doing what you want to do. And number two, most times they have their own job boards and specific jobs that are exclusive to that community and not on LinkedIn, Indeed, or other job sites. So now the question might be, how do I find these communities, right? These tech communities. If you're in college, it's easy, or if you just got to college, it's easy to join an alumni network or, something that's local. But if you are far removed from that scene and like, how do I get connected to people who are doing what I want to do in tech? I'm going to share a few communities that have been helpful to me and that have been helpful to the people that I mentor. And this is based on my identity. Obviously, I'm a Black woman, so I'm going to lean towards Black communities that share resources, career advice that are tailored to my identity. And so if you're a different identity, definitely look up some communities that can help you. So here are a few of those communities that I'm aware of. If you know a community that has been very helpful to you in your tech journey or your tech career, definitely share it. But one of it is called Pocket People of Color in Tech. It's a newsletter by Michael Behane, I believe. I'm sorry if I butchered that last name, but he's also the podcast host of Techish, which is another great podcast to listen to if you're interested in tech and culture. He has a great platform where he shares stories of people of color in tech and what they're doing. The platform also has its own newsletter, community, and also on their website you can find job boards. And so what is interesting, obviously, is that these companies are paying to put their job positions on this platform because they want to hire from this community. So if you're interested in looking for jobs that you might not find on LinkedIn or other sites, definitely check Pocket Job Board. Another community is Diversified Tech, run by Vinny. I love this website and this community because it's targeted to people who are underrepresented in tech. And so you can go to the job board, filter through jobs that are, in the US or remote or in different countries. You can also see the salary and the date that it was posted. Love this community. And so there's going to be a few more. I'm going to put them in the show notes. I think that community is the best way to learn and grow with each other. And also just to get support. It's very hard going through this job search season if you do it on your own. You're going to burn out. It's guaranteed. You're going to feel depressed. You're going to feel alone. You're going to feel not good enough. And we don't need you feeling like that in the start of 2025. Like, we need you to keep going, okay? So I will definitely recommend joining one of these communities. And one of the biggest communities, I just remember, it's called Dev Community. And so that's dev.to. It's one of the largest dev community around the world. It has over 2.6 million members and subscribers, I believe, to their newsletter and their platform. They have a ton of amazing resources. You can definitely get engaged and involved. And obviously, you may be thinking, okay, how is being part of a community going to get me a job today? It might not get you a job today, but it might get you a job tomorrow. It might help you meet the right people that can point you in the right direction instead of, wasting your time, learning this skill, focus on this instead. And you have people that you can share your frustrations with. I guarantee if you're looking for a job right now, you're not the only one. And there are people that are sharing their stories on these platforms and these communities that you can learn from and lean from. And so if you don't remember anything I've said so far about community, remember this: building and maintaining relationship will take you further than any technical skills that you learn. And so make sure that you are working on building relationships, building community before you need them. The second truth you need to understand that no one's really talking about is that you need to specify what makes you different. What is your specialty? What do you do different than the 5,000 people applying for that role that you've applied for? A lot of people can't answer that question. They're like, oh, well, I was told to, go to this boot camp or work in this company, get this job, get this degree, and, it will get me in. 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, that could have helped, but not right now. In the beginning of this episode, I listed 5 groups of people that you're up against, and there's more. I just don't have time to list all of them. But this job landscape is so much tougher than any other landscape. Obviously, we've had layoff in tech before 2022 and beyond. Layoffs are part of the tech industry and they're going to keep happening. But the thing is that companies now have a lot of options. Software developers are not in demand. There's just so many. I don't know if you guys remember this whole thing about like everybody should learn how to code. Guess what? We did that. And now we're here with developers fighting for the bare minimum. It doesn't sound pretty, but it's the truth. If you can't really communicate why you're different from other applicants, you're not going to stand out, and it's going to be harder for you to even figure out the jobs to apply for. I get that a lot of people say, hey, I'm applying for like 100 jobs per day, 200 jobs per day. Yes, it's important to apply for a lot of jobs so you increase your possibilities or chances for getting an interview and landing a job. But if you're just sporadically applying for any and every job, it's giving jack of all trades, master of none. And you don't want that to be you. You want to be known for something special. You want to be known for something specific. And watching 100 YouTube videos is not going to help you figure that out. Yeah, I know you're watching this video. Thank you for watching. But you need to sit down and really figure out, like, what makes me different? What will differentiate me from 5 other applicants that are applying for this job? And that takes time. If you haven't had a lot of experience in the tech industry or even in your career, then you need to sit down and figure that out for yourself. It's humbling to sit down and think through it because sometimes you may be like, okay, I don't have any. If you feel like you don't have any, then start creating that value proposition, because this will help you in terms of like figuring out, okay, is it worth me applying to this job? Is it worth me even doing this interview? Is it worth me going to this event? It's going to help you filter out what you need to spend your time in so you don't feel burned out by the job search process. I have a framework that I tell my mentees when trying to figure this out, and it's going to take probably 3 or 4 podcast episodes, so I'm not going to get into it now. But if you want me to talk about that in length in a podcast, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to create a series on how to help you figure out what is your specialty, what can help you stand out during this job search process. So after you found your community and you're actively engaged and you're able to define and clearly communicate what you are good at, especially good at, the third thing you need to understand is proximity. I'm going to explain this in 2 ways because there is the proximity principle, which I'm going to break down. And then there's also proximity when it comes to time of applying to those jobs. The proximity principle by Ken Coleman refers to the idea that to achieve your desired career goals, you need to intentionally position yourself near the right people and be in the right places to access opportunity. Now, a lot of you already know this because we know that success in general doesn't just come from what you know or who you know. It's being at the right place at the right time. It's when preparation meets opportunity, right? And so this principle is important to understand because a lot of people right now who bought into remote work, which I did, I love remote work. I am a remote girly. I'm grateful to have a remote job. But it's 5 years later, we're seeing that a lot of companies are going back to the office. I talked about this in my 2025 prediction episode. And so if you're looking for a job in this job climate, you have to understand, like, okay, you need to position yourself to be around the right people and to be in the right places. Now, if you've moved around, obviously, since the pandemic, which I feel like almost everyone did, and you're not in a city that's really tech heavy, then you need to prioritize the first thing I mentioned in this episode, meaning community. If you can't physically be in an environment where you're learning from other people, then you can do it online. You can join online communities, you can be engaged in online communities, you can talk to people online, you can create content to create conversation, like literally what I'm doing right now. But you can't give the excuse to say like, oh, I don't live in the right country, I don't live in the right city, I didn't go to the right university, I don't have the right access. Those excuses are not good enough right now in this day and age where the internet makes the world smaller. Some people have more of an advantage because they're located in different cities or different countries. Yes, that's true, but it doesn't mean that there's no opportunities for you to create your environment or to intentionally curate the people that are around you and the people that you learn from. And so understanding the proximity principle, if you're someone in your 20s, just graduated college and you're like, I don't know where to move to, I don't know where to go, make sure it's somewhere that you're surrounded with people who you want to be like. Make sure it's somewhere that has more opportunities that aligns with your personal life goals and your career goals. And yes, I have seen those LinkedIn posts about people accepting jobs in cities and, those job offers being rescinded and now they're stuck. There's always going to be the situations. And if that happened, make sure it's a good city that you actually like. And so even if that job opportunity gets away from you, which is sad and heartbreaking, at least you're in a city or a country that you like and you love and you feel like there might be other opportunities. And I can say that this principle works because that's how I got my job within Microsoft. I was a college student who had never attended any tech conference or tech event or even interned at any tech company. And when I was about to graduate, I was like, oh my gosh, like I have no connections. I don't know anyone who worked in tech. I don't have family members who work in tech. My parents are immigrant. They don't know about the tech corporate landscape. I didn't have an uncle or brother, anybody who worked in tech or even graduated college in the US. And so I had to figure everything out. And it took me long because I should have figured this in my, I don't know, sophomore year or whatever it is. But for some of us, it doesn't click, right? We have no one to tell us what to do. And so for me, senior year looking for jobs, I was like, okay, I need to surround myself with people who are doing what I want to do, who have the jobs that I want to have. And that's when I started attending conferences and meetups. I remember going to some local meetups. I'm like, none of these people have the jobs that I want, or they're not doing the work that I'm interested in. And so I'm like, okay, I have to keep going. And it was hard for me because I'm an introvert. Most developers, most engineers, we're introverts, but that's not a good enough excuse not to put yourself out there and to attend events. And so eventually I attended the Grace Hopper event, which most of you probably have heard about, a few years ago. And when I was at that conference, I talked to everyone that I could. I didn't have my resume, to be honest. I was just so enamored by the amount of amazing women that were doing the work that I wanted to do. And it was through talking to someone random. I remember I went to an event, an happy hour event, and we were in line and she was telling me about her job and she asked me what I did. And I was like, oh, I don't do anything yet. Like, I'm still a college, student. And she told me about an apprenticeship program called Leap, and you should definitely check it out. And I was just kind of blown away of like, wow, like if I never came here, talked to this person, I would have probably never heard about the opportunity. I might probably still work in tech, but it might have taken me longer. But because I was at the right place at the right time around the right people, it helped me gain the opportunity to work in tech today. And so if you feel like, okay, I'm not making traction, I am applying to 100, 200 jobs every week and nothing, I would say definitely take a break because I know that can get intense. But understand these top 3 things I've talked about today and really figure out, okay, what is my strategy, right? If you've been doing things, for the last 6 or 8 months and it's not working, it's time to think about things in a different way. And I know people are doing the work, but working hard at the wrong things won't give you the right results. I'm going to say that again. Working hard at the wrong things won't give you the right results. So if you say like, oh, okay, I'm applying, I'm talking to people and it's not working, it's not working. And it can be hard and humbling because if you've worked in tech and you were laid off, this is not a position that maybe you ever envision yourself to be in. So it definitely takes a lot of vulnerability and humility to receive help from other people or to ask for help. But that is what you have to do in the situation because you don't have the luxury of not trying everything that you can or doing everything that you can to get your next job. So to summarize, community, specialty, and proximity. And when I talk about proximity, also remember that the time of which you applied to the jobs matter. I know it sounds like it's the basic, but some people forget that. They see a job that was posted 5 days ago, 2 weeks ago, and they still apply. No, sir, no, ma'am. That doesn't count. If you apply to a job 24 to 48 hours after it's posted, that definitely increases your likability or your likelihood of, getting an interview or possibly getting that job. So remember, you're not special. I'm not special. This job climate is crazy. So make sure that you understand who your community is if you're part of one. Number two, what is your specialty? Number three, proximity. That plays a key role on being able to land your future job opportunity. And if you're looking to join other communities and I don't know what else to join, you can join the Tech Unlock podcast community. You can subscribe to the channel, join the newsletter where we send out resources. And even right now, you can participate in community by leaving a comment. If you are in the job search process right now and you have a question or a challenge, leave it in the comment. And if you work in tech right now, try to answer that question and leave a tip that has helped you in your tech career. Or if you're hiring, let us know in the comments. I feel like there's a lot of ways that we can help each other grow and thrive in our careers through community. So thanks so much for watching this episode, and I will catch you next week on the Tech Unlock podcast.